Welcome to One Bite at a Time,
a podcast where I, Chef Wu,
and I, Chef V,
discuss the hospitality and culinary sector through both our professional and personal experiences.
and touch on all the things that make us smile, cry, laugh, shout, whilst trying to figure out how to set the standard one bite at a time.
I can't believe that we're finally on season 2 of the podcasts.
Season 1 was amazing.
It was good. It was a great starting point.
I think so.
We had some great conversations.
So I have to ask, let's have a bit of a reflective moment right now.
Okay.
Before we get into what season 2 is about. What do you feel was the most impactful part of season 1 for you?
The most impactful part of season 1 was actually ideating, executing, and putting it together.
Okay, clap
Like
for yourself.
the fact that we got that shit out tops anything that could have happened in the season. Even if it had gone to shits, like the level of perseverance it takes to bring it out of your head and make it a physical thing.
No, I agree with that. I think I'm so proud of the topics that we had, the guests that came on. We really showed up with a bang. There was like no stepping stones of like uncomfortability or like, oh, where's this podcast going? I think the narrative and the story that we were trying to tell and the industry that we're trying to talk about was very clear.
Yeah.
I think our viewers and our listeners really understood what we're about.
What we were about.
Got to know a bit of Wu and V at the same time.
At the same time. And who doesn't want to know a little bit of Wu and V? But talking about knowing Wu and V, I think this is also a perfect time to kind of give some updates. Why it's taken a little too long between season 1 and season 2, where the rest of season 1 disappeared to. Just updates about both personal and business ones.
Yeah. I mean, it's raw, it's honest. Life is life. Both of us had life happen and good things.
Good things.
Some life-changing things.
Yeah. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do updates. Yeah. 3 business or career and 3 personal.
It's a lot.
Okay, 2 each.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Go on then.
So I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. Shall I start business? No, let's start personal.
I'm going to stop you. Don't be angry. I'm going to start first because I feel like Vanessa's going to end with a bang. And it's only right that she does. So, personal, I became the mother of a 13-year-old. And that's a big deal because teenagers are a lot. It's like being a mother is like having a whole other job, full time, round the clock. But being the mother to a teenager, 0 out of 10 wouldn't recommend.
She does not mean that.
I don't. The child is lovely. It's the journey that's a bit whoa. Business wise, while we were away, I did 2 sold out supper clubs in London.
Amazing.
Girl, I know. Yeah, that was great. It was great to go back to London after leaving, and going back as Chef Wu and Onjeko and still being relevant and loved enough for people to show up and show out.
Not just being relevant, the buzz was there.
Yeah.
It was so crazy to see how many people had just been so excited to see that Wu was coming back.
Yeah.
Like, I remember just seeing the posts, the Instagram stories of everyone saying, wow, I've been missing Wu's take on. And I think what made me laugh was everyone talking about your jollof rice initially.
Yes.
And then seeing that complete different side of your menu and how you've just completely shifted and not shifted, evolved.
Yes. Evolved is such a
You know,
good word.
and showing that there's so much more that Wu's come to from coming to Nigeria and, you know, bringing that back to your home base. Or let's say your first home base.
My first home base. Yeah. Okay, 2, that was it. 1 personal, 1, or was it 2 each? Chef?
You said 2 each, but we could...
I don't think of any.
I told you 3 was March anyway. Okay.
Go on.
So, I mean, I can only do 1 personal because I think this has just been the whole trajectory of the past, how long?
I think you should start with career first though. Okay. Stop holding each other.
You know what? Wu is not the only one that went to London. I also went to London.
Yes, you did.
And I went a couple of months before Wu. And it was an amazing time because I got to do my first collaborative pop-up with Chef Sia and Chef Tilly. We did a pop-up called Lagos Meets London, and that was sensational. We all took a course each, and to just meet so many people that had followed our journeys, from following Sia, following Tilly, following myself, and just showcasing what we're about, and just seeing women come together and being able to fuse our creative juices together to create an amazing menu was just out of this world. So that was really, really amazing. Last summer was incredible.
Yeah, it was.
I think another highlight for me last year was going to Brazil. And I spent a month there and just learning in person firsthand how beautiful the diaspora is out there, how the techniques and ingredients and cooking culture from Africa had been transported to a whole new continent through the transatlantic slave trade, and how that's created its own subculture through where was it, in Salvador, for example, the Bahian cuisine, and just being in touch with seeing how the ingredients have just still been so familiar, yet, just redefined.
So different, yeah.
So it was amazing to really experience that. And that just brought me back with so many inspirations to take my career into a different life and evolve as a chef coming back to Nigeria. And the personal, if not the most biggest change of my life right now, is I'm about to be a mom.
Woo!
Maybe you can see it in my face now. Can't hide it that much more, but it's been, wow. That's all I can say. It's been a while. And I think when we go through a bit more about what we've been up to the last couple of months, it's going to come out just different things in this journey. I've been quiet, and I know people who follow me online there's probably, when you see the announcements and stuff, you'll probably understand why I've been a certain way. I've not been the way I usually am, but that's because I'm literally building, I'm cooking something in the oven right now. And this is my biggest dish, my biggest plate yet that's coming out.
I'm screaming. My biggest plate yet is crazy work, but you know what? I hear it. I think so. We've decided that this episode is very much going to be a we're back episode. So we're just gonna kind of go over the last few months, and just chat. Yeah, quite informal. Catch you guys up. So just flow with us. Yeah. Where should we start?
Maybe let's go into December. I think we've spoken about last summer already through this personal and career. So let's go through which one of the most, if not the busiest period for chefs.
For chefs, the hospitality sector as a whole, across all the segments of it, whether it's hotels, Airbnb business, the tourism as a whole, events, restaurants, peak periods. They don't call it Dirty December for no reason, exactly. I guess.
Firstly, I don't think anyone was expecting that many people to come in. It was
a lot. It was very intense across the board. But it was a good kind of intense. It was a kind of intensity that makes you optimistic about what we can do if the government, backs us, if us as our own selves back ourselves. Like there was a lot of optimism there. It allowed for people to kind of look forward, which I think was great. Really, really good.
So what was your highlight?
My highlight was probably I think I did 5 collaborative roundtables with different chefs. So I did one with Chef Oppie, 2 with Chef Faz, 2 with Tony's Wine Club. She's a sommelier from London, and she came back and she did 2. And I think the ones with her were my favorite, only because it was really nice to have someone professionally pair wines with the dishes. And it wasn't just about drinking the wine. It was also about understanding the experience of drinking wine, smelling the wine, taste. It was so beautifully curated that I was like, yeah, this is something I would love. I would love to have a som
like a dedicated
round
table.
oúnjẹ som that was what they did for all my dinners. That would be such a lovely addition to curating dining experiences.
Okay, I mean, I'm surprised you're not even talking about one of your biggest, what do I call it? The MasterCard.
Oh shit.
This girl is too humble, honestly.
Okay.
Can you let us know exactly who you were in the whole MasterCard campaign?
Right. So I was the project lead for the...
Can you say that again with a bit more? I was what?
I was the project lead for the MasterCard Priceless December campaign. And it was basically... So think Restaurant Week of years before. And what we did was we curated experiences within different restaurants across Lagos. And my God, that was hard work, but was very fulfilling when I got to the end of it, because I was able to spotlight some of my favorite chefs, some of my favorite comedians, artists across different places in Lagos. And that was so very fulfilling, because I always try to explain if you've heard me talk, you know that I'm always going on about, it's not just about me. I'm not in this for just me. Like, it's about the entire ecosystem. And that project really, it was very fulfilling in that sense. It was great. So there was the private chef, what did we call them? Guest chef experiences. Chef Freggs, Chef V, Chef Woo, Solia. We all did guest experiences in different restaurants. And then there were comedy stand-up nights. There was a spoken word situation with Tonyverse. There was live bands across different places. It was really good.
No, it was amazing. I had so much fun being a part, and I just think, talking from someone who was brought into the project, it was just amazing to see the whole creative industry that's part of the hospitality industry coming together. Like you said, it wasn't just about music or fashion or food. You had spoken words, you had all sorts of entertainment brought in. And I think with all the different guests that come into Nigeria, from the diaspora to the Nigerians that come back home, there was something to do literally every single day. So
it was great.
Girl, clap for yourself. Biggest tap on the back to do that in that peak period. I'm so proud of you. That was amazing.
Thank you. Oh wow, make me cry.
Girl, for me, December was humbling. I have to be honest with you, because I came into December with a fully booked schedule, and I got pregnant a couple of months before. So I did not expect to struggle as much as I was, I had to, let's not get too emotional, but it was a humbling experience. I had sold out my Christmas week, about 2 weeks of December pretty much. By November I was already booked. And by the time I first got pregnant, I was like, oh yeah, I can handle this. I still had the strength and stuff. And by the end of November, that's when the real, we'll say like 7-8 weeks. That's when the real sickness came in.
This is what it's me.
Yeah, it was tough. And I actually got diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum, which is a really serious case of morning sickness and nausea. And I was put in hospital in December. So I had to completely recalibrate what December meant for me. Had to reach out to some clients who I had a relationship with to basically tell them I'm not sure I'm going to be able to take on what I had promised, send money back, things like that. Something that December is supposed to be the most profitable moment for me. I had to basically take a step back. But at the same time, I took on way more than I still was supposed to. My doctors told me not to work at all, but I still felt like I had to. There was a lot of pressure. I mean, I think we can also talk about this, that December pressure of having to feel like you have to be doing something. If not, what are you doing? This is the time to make the money. This is the time to set yourself for the year. This is the time to brand and all that. And I had some amazing projects. I mean, like, for example, the one that Wu brought me on with MasterCard. I had my first sponsored event, which was a private event by Inveroche, which for my Setting the Standard brunch, which was really good. And just some really key projects that I just could not say no to. And by the end of the month, I was burnt out.
Of course you were.
Really, really burnt out. I actually ended up admitted to hospital again. Yeah. I pushed myself to that point where I had a bit of a scare. And I have PTSD from December. I can't lie to you. I haven't been able to celebrate my achievements because of all the things I was working on, and struggling with at the same time.
You say you've not been able to celebrate your achievement, but I think getting through December pregnant is in itself an achievement. So it's not the achievement you expected to be celebrating, but it's still an achievement on
it is. But let's talk about that pressure. I mean, especially for new chefs or people that are coming out and are feeling like, if I don't get this certain amount of bookings or this certain amount of clout from this month, am I failing? Like, why is that so much pressure? And why is there so much pressure in December?
I think it's because there's this innate assumption that because there are so many people here, I'd be stupid to not make money. But sometimes maybe that's the time to rest. Maybe that is the time to reset when everybody else is doing helter skelter, and measuring yourself against other people's seeming success is something that people do across industries. I don't think it's just us, but it's really important to know that, okay, oh, look, Chef Wu's doing this and that and that and this, and I only got one booking this week, or I only did. And so, like, because if you look at Chef Wu and you're like, okay, Chef Wu did all of this, you don't know the other things Chef Wu is, Chef V is dealing with at the same time. So I think it's very much a thing of having a vision for yourself and sticking to your vision and honoring that no matter what is going on or whatever it seems like other people are doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Because putting that pressure on yourself, sometimes it can lead to burnout. But in other instances, it kind of just completely pushes you off the track.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I'm not doing this no more because it's da-da-da-da-da. And it was just 1 month.
Exactly. And I feel like sometimes, I think this happens in all the industries, a lot of people feel that pressure to overbook themselves.
Yes.
100%. And
%.
the last thing you want is to create a brand that is now making mistakes or doing things that you would not necessarily have done, or, put yourself in such scenarios where you've overbooked, you're overstretched, your quality has gone down. And that's how your whole branding that you've tried to build the whole year has now come crashing down because let's say you have an important client or someone with the following, or whatever the case is, or a client that's been working with you for months or years, and you've just disappointed them because you did too much. I mean, I feel that especially, I don't know if I'll just talk about this in the beauty industry, for example. I have all my nail techs, my lash techs, my hair appointments that have been going well all year. Then when it comes to December, suddenly the communication has gone down, or you try to book 10 million people in one day and you don't have time to do what you would have done for me normally at a great service. You're now poor. And it's like, I've just got a bitter taste in my mouth of what you're providing. And I think it's the same thing as a chef. I would rather, if you say to me, look, Chef V, I've only managed to get 2 bookings this whole month. To take those bookings with 100% effort.
110%.
110 effort. You don't know where those 2 bookings could take you. And your January, your February, every other month for the next year could be fully booked because of how well you did those 2 bookings. So it's not about the number. It's not about trying to say, oh, I just saw this chef post online that she's sold out for the month and I've not been able to sell out what I want to sell out for the month. No, it's about who's come to me, who's trusting in my service, and how can I ensure that I meet that service with full capacity and that's the advice I would give.
I agree. That's great advice, actually. That's great. So that being said, it's going to sound crazy. Do you have any plans for next December?
Honestly, I do not.
I'll plan that far ahead. I think the crazy thing is, we look at this and we say this and we laugh about it, but people have been planning for December since January.
Most people, it's a 1 year in advance kind of thing, because you have to kind of visualize where you want to be, the kind of events you want to do, or the projects, especially if you're trying to work with big companies.
Yeah, you have to pitch.
You do need pitching and things like that. I did say to myself, though, I do think this year I just needed to.
Girl, you're gonna have a baby.
So I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna observe. But who knows? Chef V might just come back and say...
Chef V will. That's what she does. That's what you do. Okay, so that was December. Going into the new year, how did that feel? What was your vision for 2025 and how has that kind of started to materialize?
Girl, everything for me has just been a different perspective. I mean, I was on bed rest in January. So I was forcibly told not to do anything, and that's when I had to stop. And it was depressing. It was hard for someone like me who's moving about a lot. But I also used the opportunity to just re-strategize my life and start thinking about how I want to evolve. I mean, I'm always looking at ways of improvement, ways of looking at potential business opportunities. And I do think I've come to that point where I've been in Nigeria now 5 years. I know it's crazy. So this is my 5th year. It now feels like it's the perfect year to just recalibrate what I want to do. And it's been amazing sowing some initial early seeds into where I see myself as a businesswoman, as a chef, and very exciting things coming, some plans I have in place. I know I've mentioned in my story, you know, being a private chef is just it's like a trajectory. It's a stepping stone for me. It's not my final place. So I'm looking forward to evolving, one as a mom, as a chef, just all these different things. They're all aligning at the same time. So it's been, the first months, January, February, have been that time of just reflection and sowing seeds.
Okay. That's great. I think it's kind of the same for me. I wasn't on bed rest. But I always take a step back when I go into the new year. I don't do that whole New Year's resolutions and
come in with full force.
Because after a December like that, that's actually the time you get to rest. So I'm a Q1 rest person. Rest, strategize, plan, because I'm very vision led. So I plan my year in that first quarter where I'm like, okay, how did the brand do in December during the peak season? Because realistically that December period doesn't really end until like mid-January. So then I give myself 2 to 3 weeks of rest, and then I'm like, okay, so my year doesn't really start till February. And then from there, it's really just using those remaining 2 months of Q1 to plan, what do I want for my brand? What do I want for myself? And yeah, just kind of taking a step back and planning very well.
Something big happened for you this new year already, hasn't it?
Why do you remember everything that I did?
Because I gas you up, girl. Like,
I do. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So it so happens that you are now looking at the first ever culinary arts curator for the J. Randall Center of Yoruba Culture and History. I thought I was going to mess that up. Jesus Christ. So yes, that was a big thing that happened at the start of the year. And the thing is that happened in the midst of me like thinking that, okay, it's time to rest and figure out what I'm doing. And then this thing was, I'm going to take a moment to say thank you to someone. One of my big things is people that opportunities are offered to and they're able to step back and say, no, this opportunity is not for me. I don't think I'm the best fit for this. I know who you should go with, or I would recommend said person. And that is what Chef Moyo did for me. So they reached out to her and they had a meeting with her, and they told her what they were after. And she was like, I don't think I'm the best fit for this. I think you need to speak to Chef Ru.
Amazing.
And she sent me a cake. Women supporting women. And you know what I love? It's, people say that a lot, but not everyone does it.
Actively does it.
So when you meet women that actively do it, credit where credit is due always. And yeah, so that's kind of how that came about. And I didn't at first it's one of those things where I explained this very recently, on a podcast feature I did, where the beauty of working in a place where Nigeria is a developing country. So in as much as the continent is developing and the country is developing, the sectors individually are developing, and the things that are being given to us now were helping to develop them. So when they came to me and they said they wanted me to do this, this and this, and I was like, oh, I think it could be this, this and that. And then we kind of came to an understanding, a middle ground of where we think the most sensible and viable kind of route for this role was. And it's a developing role. We're figuring it out as we go. I am currently working on an exhibition curation that I want to do over the next few months for the rest of the year, which should have like a big thing in December if all goes well. But yeah, that was a major thing for me this quarter.
Again, I have to say, I'm just so proud of you. Favor is upon you.
Amen.
Your mission and your purpose in the Nigerian industry is just setting its stone on a foundation that is so strong. I could go on and on and on, girl, but I can't wait to just continue to see how much impact you sow into this industry.
Thank you.
And how much intentionality you put in through your very credible background as a chef. So yeah, congrats to Room.
Thank you. But I will also say we have a joint Q1 milestone, and that was at the Nigeria Food Summit, where we just did our
first live podcast,
and that was amazing.
It was so good.
That was so good. I think it was great that in as much as we've done season 1 and we've only just finished putting out all the episodes for season 1, it was beautiful that we were being acknowledged as pioneers in the industry, in creating other segments or other subcategories within the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Our podcast being one of that. And it was great to kind of be in the presence of different key players in the industry and within the ecosystem and lead a conversation like that. The topic of the Food Summit was making Nigeria a global food destination. So, of course, what we did was discuss what it takes to be a global food destination. And you can find that episode on YouTube, and all other streaming platforms. But yeah, that was really great. That was a great joint milestone for us.
It was. I'm so proud of us. I think it's been, the past 12 months have just been moving on up and just moving and moving. And even when we've sat in a place of stillness and rest, we're still doing things. Like it's wild. Like even if I just have to say, even in my moment and season of rest, the kind of projects that have come my way have just been so impactful. You know, I'm not able to be busy, or let's say working 5 times a week as I normally would. But even if it's been 2 projects a month or 3 projects a month, it has been really amazing things. Shout out to the Gas Foundation for the projects I've done out with them. Leaving Lagos State to go work in a remote farm was amazing. Bringing that back to Lagos as well, working with diaspora and, artists, creatives, diplomats. I mean, I've seen it all this past couple months actually. And I think a major highlight as well was when I got flown to New York last month? Yeah. Got flown to New York to be, one of the lead creative and culinary consultants for the Nigerian Women's Day powered by the Ministry of Women Affairs. During the UN Beijing 30 conference.
Come on.
So,
shit.
I mean, I might be quiet, but I'm always working. I'm still making sure that my name is being put in very credible places. And I've also got a consulting.
Spell credible. The amount of times.
I know that we've said it, but I mean, I'm so sorry. Not everyone is credible in this industry.
And that's okay.
And that's fine, but we will make sure that we stand 10 toes down in credibility.
Oh, we're going to put that on a shirt. Okay. I think it would be good to just briefly, because we've mentioned doing the NFS, I think we can acknowledge, or we can, how do I word this? I think the podcast has done quite a bit for the industry. I think it's opened up the floor for people having honest conversations about the inner workings of our industry. Honest conversations about where people fit in the ecosystem. And not enough people were doing that. People are starting to do that now in their own little ways. And that, I feel like that's definitely something to write home about.
Yeah.
Not something that goes unnoticed.
I think when I saw so many people, especially professionals, come to us and say, these are things that we've been thinking about, you know, having conversations with 1 or 2 people, but you've had the courage to come on camera to speak to thousands about the inner workings and the vulnerabilities and the also the things that we do praise and the problems, everything. We've been able to address those professionally, yet with still a bit of character and a little bit of shade, because we are shady people. But being transparent, and you know, it's happening to us as well. We are part of this industry. We are not just talking from a lens of being outside. We are literally directly being impacted by everything that happens in this industry, and to be vulnerable enough to put ourselves on the to be roasted if people want to, but you can't roast us because, I mean, like I said,
you're actually worse than me, and that's crazy.
But we put ourselves out there because we challenge. And that was my most proud moment, I think, especially when that moment did happen with Who Shall Not Be Named.
He Who Shall Not Be Named.
There's no need. He's not wasting space on our podcast. But I do think the important thing of holding people accountable was something that came out of this podcast. And it showed that there is room for that. There's more room for that, rather than just trying to allow people be who aren't providing positive and impactful moments for our industry.
I completely agree. Wow, Vanessa, we're pretty cool, you know. So now we've caught all of you up, caught ourselves up, and gassed each other up as well while we're at it, because why not? What is in store for season 2?
Oof. I'm so excited for this season. I think, one, we have so many amazing people coming on.
We actually have some pretty fucking cool guests.
Some really, really cool guests. And it's not enough to have, I mean, you could have us all day long. You know, we are great podcast hosts, but to bring in some people who have really been a part of this industry in groundbreaking, you know, groundbreaking ways. You guys are going to be excited for what's in store.
Yeah.
How about you?
What else is in store? I think the topics as well. So it's not even just about the guests. It's also the topics that we have selected our guests based on topics that we think need to be discussed. Whether it's, you know, getting insight into a particular niche or way things are being done, or, you know, speaking to people and them kind of talking us through their journeys and advising the next generation. I think the topics that we have curated for this season, really fucking excited.
Really niche, really curated.
Yes, well curated.
I think we're taking a scalpel and we're really dissecting what our industry is about, because the industry's evolved quite a lot, actually, in the last couple of years.
And I think that's the great thing about this podcast, is that as the industry evolves, the conversations we have here will evolve. Some conversations will be revisited. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations openly, because then it's like we can go back and be like, oh, remember when we discussed this thing in season 1? Look at us 3 years down the line, look how much this particular thing has changed.
And that's why we take it one bite at a time. We're not trying to have the whole plate at once, are we?
Oh, look at you.
I'm on a roll today, I can't lie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that kind of gives you an overview as to what to expect. If you do have anything in particular you'd like to see in season 2, you could let us know. If you have any suggestions for our favorite segment that's coming up, you could also let us know, because I think it will also be good to discuss things that people are requesting we discuss. Because it's one thing for us to have our little one bite. The other thing for people to be like, oh, we'd really like you to discuss, you know, maybe chefs are doing too much with food that should be really simple and stuff like that. And with that being said, we're actually going to go into our favorite segment. It's Vanessa's favorite. It's my fave.
I love it.
But Vanessa loves it.
I love it.
Okay, so we're going to go into the one bite segment, and Vanessa's going to take lead on this one because it was her idea.
I just thought, you know, we've discussed December. We've discussed the amount of people that came in. It was a very, very high intense, highly productive season for a lot of people. And it got the whole industry of Lagos, like tourism. I'm speaking for Lagos because we live in Lagos, but it got the whole industry of tourism to start really asking fundamental questions. I think this was not the first time. I mean, we've always had Dirty December, but I do believe this was one of the most intense ones. And from just the movement, the flow of traffic, the events that were happening every single day, the diaspora coming and, you know, being tipped TikTok famous and just hearing Americans talking about Lagos. You know, Lagos. I'm going to Lagos. I think it's high time that we just talk about what the Lagos, or let's speak Lagos tourism, because I do feel the past couple of months, especially, I've been seeing a lot more activations by Lagos tourism. So I want to use it as an example. I'm seeing trade shows. I'm seeing pop-up events during weekends. I'm seeing one that's even happening, I think, in this weekend or next weekend. Okay. That is celebrating vendors.
Oh,
is it Niger Brand Chick? Exactly. Yeah. I've seen that one, but I've seen a lot more play, I would say, working with fashion, working with music. And my question is there enough being done with the food industry? Because food tourism is top.
Should be a whole thing. I think that's a great question. So my one bite for this is, I just feel like when we are, you know, spotlighting the creativity of Lagosians and the work that creatives in Lagos are doing, we have to remember chefs and the culinary arts. It's literally an art form. It's dishonest to leave us out of those conversations, because if you've listened to me speak or you watch my videos, you will see that I go on, I have a thing that I say, and I'm convinced that chefs are one of the most multifaceted creatives. We are, some of us are especially creative in multiple ways. So outside of the kitchen, when you are laying a table, that is a form of creativity. When you are plating a dish, there's elements of creativity in that. To put a menu together and design it, there is an element of our creativity is very multifaceted, and it's dishonest to be having conversations and conferences about the creator economy and the creative this and the da-da-da, and chefs and their art form is not celebrated or acknowledged and supported as much as musicians and the other, because quite frankly, after music and fashion comes food. Food is our third biggest export. We could argue it's higher.
And it could easily go higher.
So that is kind of my one bite on it. I think we need to revisit the way we look at creative arts, or creatives, and make sure that we are, or when we are curating events and programs and stuff like that, we are thinking of all creative art forms.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think if I was to add a one bite to that, it's pretty much in line. I would just want to see a bit more collaborative effort from these backed industries, because I think a lot of the things that we do see in December, and from a tourism angle, is when everyone's doing something by themselves. It's mostly, you know, privately run by separate businesses having their own calendar or their own pop-ups, their own events. And okay, someone puts together a December calendar, but it has not been a unified effort to think, what are we doing in all these aspects of the industry to make a perfect or a very attractive calendar for those who are coming in? It's very much every man for themselves. And I would love to see a bit more of a conversation had months in advance, where we bring in key players in all these different industries to come together and say, okay, we would love to have this weekend of celebrating Lagos arts. Let's bring in the fashion designers, the artists, the chefs. Exactly. And I think the chefs can be celebrated from the base of having the top caterers of jollof rice and the soups, all the way up to the niche industry of the finer dining, the contemporary, the innovative, and, you know, showing the top down movement of the differences in the food industry itself. So that's what I would add. There's a lot more room for coming together intentionally.
And that wraps up our One Bite segment. But that also wraps up the first episode of season 2.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I'm actually so happy.
This has been so good. I've missed you.
I've missed you so much. We say that. I've missed you on camera because we be seeing each other in real life. We're actually friends. We actually love each other. Like, she causes drama in my life, but I love her. She's my sister. So I've missed you on camera.
Yeah.
And as usual, all episodes will be available on YouTube and podcast streaming platforms.
So make sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe on all things at One Bite Pod. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, all the social media platforms. Thank you to our venue sponsors, Miele, for giving us a space to chat.
And we also wanted to thank our very special new sponsors of the podcast, the Bodega Emporium and Circa Lagos, for coming on board, for seeing our vision, and for understanding that the work we are doing is worth investing in. And they are our sponsors for the entirety of season 2.
Make sure you go visit their restaurants.
You definitely have
you
to
won't
go
be
and visit.
disappointed.
Yeah. So
we look forward to dishing it out with you, one bite at a time.